Hello, good afternoon. I would like to thank everyone for coming. Many thanks for your wonderful invitation. And this is such a beautiful place as well. I'm very, well, I don't know what to say to. And the idea is that we discover things that are different than what we believe. We see things constantly in the media and we do not question it because we have since childhood not to question. I cannot say what is true, but I can say what is not true. There are many things in my life. I went with my wife. I have to say here, thank you very much, because she's a great partner in my life, always supporting me 100%. We went to the pyramids in Egypt, and of course, we were told they were built by the Egyptians. Well, let's see, if 3,000 workers spent 20 years excavating 3 million blocks, each a different size, weighing a total of 7 million tons, I don't know, but I would hire these guys, because it's absolutely impossible. Simply the calculation of each block is different. Measurement must be closer than tiles in the bathroom. More. Just to make this calculation, without a computer, how long would this take? Apart from calculation for each block, they basically have just over a minute of time to cut them down and put them into place. Whether you use rams, wood rollers, or lift them with a crane, neither could be done today. Therefore, I cannot say who built the pyramids, but I can say that the official version is wrong. We have the same situation with 9/11, or the famous September 11, where we saw this unfortunate, let's say, accidental airplane crash where two planes caused 3 towers to collapse. I don't know if everyone realized this, but there were 3 towers that fell, not 2. The 3rd tower is far away as from here to the cathedral, so far away, and is not easy. When I was told as a child, you have to eat lots of spinach because it's rich of iron. No, it's not. There are 2.2 milligrams of iron per 100 grams. The beet has more iron, or anything as is red, because red is the iron oxide. In nature we have natural colors, basically, and red is always almost iron. Then we have the idea that vitamin C protects against colds, but only in case of athletes. I mean, if I'm doing lots of sport. This sport, vitamin C is doing a lot of oxidation, because vitamin C is an antioxidant. What I'm really doing is removing vitamin C. So Linus Pauling had 2 Nobel Prizes. He had known for medicine. What happens? He writes a book on medicine, and since he had 2 Nobel Prizes, they said, that's a bestseller. Since then, this book is considered scientific, when in fact it is not. Well, one of my interests, or my hobby, is physics. Physics is something I like, because since I was a kid, I was a kind of small MacGyver who fixed everything for the friends. My youngest daughter, at home, when she comes, she says, my daddy can fix anything. Well, almost. I like it. For me, a problem is not a problem. It's an opportunity to improve something. And this is, this is how I see things. And so, some know me. At first I was working on a water motor. I've posted this on YouTube where you can see how it works, because we made it very simple. We are basically dealing with water expansion and use the power of steam expansion so that the piston goes down. But this is the topic of another conference. Well, this is the dream of my wife and I. We've been able to build over these years. It's an old fire truck that I've converted into a kind of 4x4. It's a type of motorhome, nothing else. So the back part is a motorhome, and it has several installed amenities, specifically solar panels, which is very necessary, because the idea for us is to go around the world. And to go around the world assumes that this is not five-star tourism. Not. When you look around the world, you see what is out there, because there are many people in the third world that need help. In the past, I worked in the finance world, and I have to say that I did pretty well. But there comes a time when things start not to make sense. Because as much as you shovel money, you're not going anywhere. The system we live in is not what they say. And when you go to a country, for example, Thailand, and you stay in a five-star resort, you do not really find out what's going on. Many people are starving behind the doors, like in Philippines or any other country. What awaits us in a journey around the world? Basically, what awaits us is a lot of learning from the people in each country, because travel really opens up the horizon. And this is known by all that ever traveled, because it's really very nice. So I'm not talking about a 9-day tourist trip with a guide that tows you from place to place. Really, traveling is taking the backpack and you just look around. We can sleep anywhere and actually make contact with the people of each country. At the same time, we also expect a lot of trouble. As you can see here, there are lots of diseases. And I myself had a serious problem. It was a rheumatoid arthritis in the wrists. Well, it began a long time ago, but it was getting worse and worse. I couldn't lift a pan, not even my baby child. It was clear that this problem would stop our dream of traveling around the world. I was sad and had to acknowledge I cannot do anything until a friend brought a remedy to my attention. This remedy was discovered by Jim Humble. I am, in principle, let's say, a positive skeptic. And again, like in the beginning, I don't believe the official pyramid story, and even less that a mineral is able to cure, let's see, diabetic leg ulcers, gastrointestinal problems, skin cancer, by the way, it cures malaria, and even acne. No way. No way. I said, look, this is an obvious hoax. Well, perhaps the greatest hoax I've ever heard in my life. But this man, who was my friend, Bill Ryan, in this case, said, no, Andreas, really, I've tried it and it helped me. Oh, yes? Well, yes, we came back from Russia with a virus that we could not be identified. I took it and it really worked. So, I ordered it over the internet, and it only can be purchased over the internet. It's forbidden in shops. Well, I ordered it and it arrived. We had a small dog. This dog was very ill. Actually, it wasn't a very old dog, laying constantly in the corner and barely moving, sometimes a little, but not running or anything. So then I got the mineral and I tried it. They called it miracle mineral, or what's even worse, when somebody says for me, miracle, and I say, it reminds me of the catechism long ago with grandma. No, I don't think so. We decided to give the dog a few drops, and then we went to sleep. The next day, the dog runs up the garden and runs down the garden, and I say, what's going on here? Something happened, right? And it was happy, jumping. Could that have been from the drops? I don't know. Well, we gave a few more. Finally, I decided to take some myself. The problem was that we're in the middle of moving, and we had a lot of moving boxes. Well, all of you know, whoever moved, know what's a move like. Boxes everywhere, with hands that can not lift anything. A big problem. Well, I took some and started feeling good. I say, I feel good. The first feeling I had was like it removed a curtain in front of my head. A funny feeling. It's like suddenly seeing things clearly, and the next day I'm in no pain, and I began to move more boxes. My wife said, Andreas, please don't do that. You will be in a pain tomorrow. Who would know? Well, who would know better? She already knew. Who else? And I said, no, 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 no. I have to move those boxes. I want to organize the house. I'm tired of the chaos. I started to work and work and work. At night, I took the drops, as indicated, slowly because I was suspicious of the dose. It was at that time very high, till 15 drops. Phew. And then we got to see the results the next day. And I began to say, oh, I can move. I can. Actually, before, I've been working a long time, many years in a recording studio. But that's long ago. I made recordings with many people, such as Montserrat Caballé and other. And now I could move my fingers again to play the piano. I was super happy moving them, doing things, and I noticed that it works. This stuff really helps. Over the time, I realized that MMS can do a lot more. Really? But careful, because the industry has a different opinion. Today, for the record, I have to admit that, officially, MMS does not cure anything, but it can cause spontaneous remission. Even if it's unbelievable. For example, there are some critics and they say it's bleach, and I don't know what else. We are now producing a database and we have more than 200 pages, and I don't know how many thousands of testimonials already, with many categories, which will be in the database. We are classifying them for scientific study. Since we cannot make a triple-blind trial like FDA studies, we do it like this, because it has also scientific value. If I have 5,000 people, and of those 5,000 people, 4,980 are saying this is positive, there must be some truth, I would say. If 20 say no, I don't know why they failed. It may be that the drugs don't work for them, or they took it wrong, or perhaps some other reason, but the statistical data will eventually tell the truth. Before I had a gentleman here with his son who was autistic, 3.1 of 3.2 possible points. That is, as he told me, the only thing he did was suck his fist. Today he's doing math and writing from dictation. Let's see. Which from you in the audience use MMS? Just to have an idea how best to continue this conference. Either way, how many have used it now? Wow, so many? Okay. Let's keep it simple. Which of you think it's a positive thing? Wow, the same, good. Then I'll adjust my talk and go a bit faster to get more to the point, how to use MMS. Okay for you? Okay, so the basics are there. So how is this able to cure? There are two parts. Namely, MMS is chlorine dioxide, one chlorine atom and two oxygen atoms. Please forget the protocols and the first book of Jim Humble. Please forget them. He wrote it and he's my friend. He created it with a good heart. But as in many investigations, new information comes to light and there are many flaws, okay? That's why today's critics are so critical, and I have to say they are partially right, because he said things that are not right at that time, and over the time we come to realize what it is, MMS, and it's very important that everyone understand it. It has two different basic functions. One, it is a disinfectant. It is known that chlorine dioxide is used to disinfect water, drinking water. Used for 100 years, okay? This is what we use in good water purification systems, actually. Bad systems use cheap chlorine. Chlorine is cheap, but has THM, trihalomethane. Now, this is cancerogenic, right? It has nothing to do with chlorine dioxide, okay? That means, as a disinfectant, it works well for skin diseases. That means, if I have acne, then it disinfects and heals the skin. If you have a wound, If you have a wound, it is very interesting, and put your finger in MMS and poof, it closes immediately. Yesterday my friend Dan was scratched by a cat. He put a little MMS on it and in 2 minutes said, oh, it is closed. It usually takes longer on him. But this effect is different. It is the oxidizing effect, okay? And on the other hand, it helps the body to heal inside. The process is different inside in contrast to the external disinfectant or oxidizing process. Cures by acting as an activator of the mitochondria, okay? That needs to be explained. The mitochondrion is well, let's see. I want it simple but good. It is a bacteria that is in each of our cells, okay? Each cell has a nucleus, and more, it is like a little world in itself, like a small being. And every cell in your body has a mitochondria within it. This is the part that is responsible for generating electricity, okay? Imagine each cell having a small electric generator called mitochondria. And what happens when we turn off this generator? What is the name of the disease? Cancer. Okay? If we turn off the mitochondria in a cell, we have cancer because the cell has no electricity. And with no electricity, the cell can't produce enough through oxidation, but instead use fermentation to produce energy to survive, called glycolysis. It is an emergency survival process that will cause the cell to multiply as much as possible. It is a natural chain reaction, but of course it is not oxidizing. It is fermenting. And now I will try to explain the rest. So this we must try to understand, the basic common denominator of our body's key functions, namely that of oxidation. We talk about oxidation because that what's sold in the pharmacy are antioxidants, right? Let me explain. Breathing is an oxidation because I'm oxidizing. We are beings that oxidize, and this oxygen generates enough energy through what we eat. Sugars, food in general, is burned. Right, we burn energy, so we burn food for energy. We oxidize to be able to live. Burning is the same as oxidizing. The second important point is that our body is conductive. What is conductivity? Conductivity is when I have a cable and a current can go from one place to the other. What happens if I cut this cable? Well, then you won't hear me. I have to repair it. And where do we have cables? Good question, right? Where? Let's talk about this later. But we know very well that salt conducts electricity. If I take distilled water and I add a little salt, then the water conducts electricity. If not, no. And therefore salt is very important in our diet. And the third factor is resonance. Why is our body what it is? Because it's in self-resonance with itself. We start with 2 cells, or a cell, 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells. But these cells have one thing in common. Constantly, even before birth or while being created in the womb, these cells have their own resonance. And through this resonance they grow, and everything has to fit in with the rest. The body has many self-correction programs when something is not working properly, okay? For instance, resonance means balance. We have to balance. When there's no balance, it does not sound good. For example, if there's a bell that has a nice resonance, but if it has a crack, it no longer sounds good. There's no nice resonance, and in this cellular activity, but resonance is another thing. What can we say about love? This is a factor in my definition of love. Resonance, love apart. You can have love apart. You can have love for an animal, a person, a child, a couple, but only when you have resonance with the other. I mean, look at the person who gives you back energy. This is a positive feedback that creates a flow. You see the resonance, then there is the love, or call it what you want. But let's go to the first step of oxidation. Well, we all know when a tin oxidizes or rust, and we also know what's an explosion. Both is oxidation. Few know that chlorophyll is also an oxidant. So is lye. What's the difference? Force. Because you have a strong oxidant and we have a weak one. So we have a strong fire or we have a slow oxidation. As with a tin can, or we have a strong explosion. The strength is really what is important to understand. Chlorine dioxide, or MMS in this case, has an oxidation potential. The oxidation potential is of 0.92 volts. Okay. How much do I have in my cells? My cells are 1.3, because my cells are constantly oxidizing oxygen. That's what we have to do. We said before, the oxygen is what keeps us alive and allowing combustion. So we know that 0.92 volts cannot harm us because it cannot oxidize our cells. Actually, all things can be toxic. It depends on the amount consumed. That means 70 grams of common table salt are also deadly. There are other things that are stronger, for example, ozone. Ozone oxidizes my cells, like hydrogen peroxide. Hydrogen peroxide is 1.73 volts, or yes, more correctly 1.7 volts. That means hydrogen peroxide is also a strong oxidizer, stronger than my own cells. Like when I have a wound and put some on it, I see that it turns white, right? Those are my oxidized cells. If I do the same with MMS, it does not happen. Why? Because the voltage is 0.92, which is much lower. However, the chlorine dioxide provides more electrons. Two oxidants, we have something contrary, namely antioxidants. Obviously, oxidizers attract electrons, while antioxidants give off electrons. So we think of electrons as the body's money, okay? So why are oxidants so recommended? Well, the picture says it all. Antioxidants attract money. The sales are 18 billions annually. That's a lot. There are more reasons. Then look, sometimes people come to me, or I'm in a group of doctors or professionals, they disagree, saying, well, the free radicals, or say they will kill you, and the others say they will make you old, they may make wrinkles, they may make anything, and we need it because of the free radicals. And I say, well, the free radicals. Free radicals are theory harmful, according to 1954 theory by Denham Harman. This Kahneman theory says, well, let's see, I have here free radicals, and these are responsible for getting old. Ah, okay. Do you have proof? No, it's my theory. And everybody swallowed it. Why? Because there's a business of 18 billion behind it. Clearly, if there's a big business behind it, no one will say no. Now, there is a man, for example, the one below, Professor Dr. Michael Ristoff of Germany, a little arrogant, I have to say here, who found the opposite is true. He said, free radicals do not make me look old. What they do is help people to live longer. So, this is just the opposite. How it is possible? It's not logical. Why is it not logical? Of course, our cells have an oxidative potential. Our radicals with higher voltage, they are stronger, like radicals generated by ozone, 2.1 volt, of course, would hurt me. If you use ozone, it's better to take antioxidants, right? But if not, then no. It's all a matter of balance, right? And in fact, Imagine free radicals are something like electricity. The point is to have no lack of or an excess of free radicals, because it depends on the individual. If I'm an obese person, I should not take artificial antioxidants. What do I really need? To burn, to oxidize, exactly. And when we go to a doctor who doesn't even look at you, and he's only asking name, address, okay, well, take these antioxidants. Well, no, at least look at the patient, okay, and look at the face and say, well, what's wrong here? And then we have the poor obese lady in front of me who says, I do not know what to do. And then I later explain why this is a disease. And not what people think. So the important question is how much of each. For example, an anorexic person should obviously take antioxidants because they're oxidizing more than they take in, right? Salt and sugar are some of the basics. Salt is conductive and increases electricity in your body. Sugar is the opposite. It's an electrical resistor, like you find in all electronic circuits. Why? It's carbon. Carbohydrates.
What happens if I eat sugar?
We eat carbohydrates, right? Right. Ingesting carbohydrates, hydrates means water, and carbon it's coal. Right. If I put a block of coal in the stove and burn it, what happens? It catches fire, carbon oxidation. Very good. Just eat a Häagen-Dazs ice cream, one of these super family ultra, and get on the couch and I'm zapping the TV. How much I am oxidating? A little, right? What happens? Well, I have a lot of carbon in my body. Carbon is a resistor. And what happens to the electricity in my body? Does it increase or decrease? Decrease. Exactly. How do I feel? Tired? That is exactly what happens. Salts are minerals and sugars are carbohydrates. And we use an energy that is called scalar energy. This is in a documentary I'm finishing now, and it's a great discovery. I've been working for years on this, really going to be something. I hope to finish it as soon as possible, because I'm on a day and night working along with Dan and others. It's a big job because it's significantly paradigmatic. So, electricity. We have said before that electricity is in our body. Where are the cables? We do not have cables, right? Very good. That will be explained later in this documentary. Scalar energy for the technicians here are vortex. So vortex fields are used in our body for energy transport. Many types of vortices have these fields. So we are electrical beings. Chemistry is not the driving force. Chemistry is the result. Think of it this way. The dog wags a tail, no other way around. So my mother has hypertension. Let's see. One question. Hypertension is an effect or is it a cause? Let's see. The cause, the effect. Obviously, it's a fact. When I need oxygen, for security reasons, the brain does an emergency program saying, hey, this is more important to me, all else can wait. Give me more oxygen. And the heart says, okay. It is not a cause. They sold us the idea it is a cause. One of these absurd things. It can never be a cause, but it is a cause of sales.
One of the
biggest cause out of sales there. How many of you are taking pills for hypertension? Quite a few, right? Hooked for the rest of your life. Also, you go to the doctor and he says, well, you have to take it for the rest of your life. Congratulations. There's no interest in healing you. Then we know that salt, in this case I am in favor of seawater, increases conductivity. We have done tests with seawater and we had fantastic results. We will talk about this later. Sugar, as I mentioned before, reduces conductivity.
if not burned by oxidation. Careful.
There are some faulty statements. For example, Dr. Young from America, he says something that is wrong. He says, no, not sugar, but salt is the energy of life. What? False. Sugar is the energy of our life. The problem is, when we eat sugar, we have to do physical work to burn it. If we do not burn it, it becomes a resistance. And then there is a resistance. What happened? The pH, that's a potential, pH, electrical potential of, do you know what? Hydrogen, exactly. Potential of hydrogen. Then the pH is low. Bacteria can come in and other bad stuff, because I need to have a high pH or I will have acidosis. Now, this results in all kinds of diseases, with cancer being one of them. In other words, antioxidants prevent or delay oxidation. And there are many different antioxidants. Careful, I do not want an error here. Or we will be criticized on the internet because I said something that's not correct. Okay, it can happen, and I apologize if so. But basically, antioxidants prevent and retard oxidation. There are different kinds. Some are natural and some are manufactured. That means if this package is labeled with E310 or E320, then these are butyl. Butyl sounds quite chemical. Yeah, it's right. It's tape.
Blue.
Well, it is. Don't worry. It's like when I have one of these muffins from Martinez and Company. How long do they last? How do they do it? If you have a summer house and return after 6 years absence, you can still eat them. It's amazing. Wow. What happens when you eat it? Since they have antioxidants to the maximum that you eat, who does not oxidize? You. The liver says, I can't process this. You, okay. Then also start to see a rise in sugar. As the sugar level goes up, the body sends out insulin to lower the sugar. Logical. Well, in one lecture I said that wrong. Okay, I apologize. But basically, the body needs to constantly balance itself. But it cannot oxidize, so if it can't oxidize, it's because of eating chemical antioxidants. Please, everyone, consider this. If someone has, for example, a patient with a disease, it is the most important. Not everyone can afford macrobiotic or organic food, but they're very expensive. But at least everyone can look at the package and say, well, this contains less crap. What happens if I don't burn those carbohydrates? And now back to the lady, or Mr. B's. Glucose is controlled by insulin and other mechanisms, right? It is not so simple, but if I start now to explain everything, I will bore you and everyone will leave. I don't want that either. So basically it becomes fat and cholesterol, okay? Cholesterol is a fat which will circulate until the moment, if I'm lucky, it will go here, or here in some woman, or perhaps everywhere. So what do I do? If I, for example, smoke and drink coffee and eat donuts, what happens? A Martinez donut, okay. Sorry to the manufacturer, but when will you produce something healthy and get on a new track? Well, the issue is that I eat that donut with those antioxidants. I drink coffee, I have toxins, I smoke that cigarette and have more toxins. The body says, I don't want this in my blood, but it's inside. Then the liver says, I cannot really oxidize it because I have antioxidants that keep me from burning these toxins. So what do? Lock it in grease, exactly. That's cholesterol, fat here. And this lady, for example, I see she's a lovely lady. She's doing everything for the children, grandchildren, and really cares. When we parents get tired and we can't cope with the children, she makes a tremendous effort every Sunday preparing big lunch, lots of food, cake, sweets on the table. I don't know what else. What happens to her? The poor woman is poisoning herself and her family with processed food. Why? Well, her fat has to store all these toxins. The body cannot cope with these toxins in the bloodstream, you know, and our body is about 80% water, right? Very good. If I weighed 100 kilos, how many kilos are they? 80, very well. How many liters of blood do I have? 5, 6, very good. 80 minus 6 is 74. Where are they? It is exactly this. The body puts out the interstitial tissue. The body constantly balances the blood, so always has a pH of 7.3. One thing is that the body has a low pH, but not the blood. Many people say, no, I have to eat this for the blood. No. You lower the blood 2 points and you're dead, okay? There are some storytellers on the other side too. The pharmacist can tell stories just like the herbalist. Me, well, I'm a both sides. I only care if something is true. And if I'm wrong, I'm prepared to admit it, but I want the truth. For everyone. Not as it's this extreme or that extreme. Then this. Let's see. This pH, let's say it's going down. It's a cause of discomfort, so the pathogens are able to overtake. It's easy for them. Say so, but this lady at the time trying to make diet, what's going on? Fat is reduced, and what does it release into the system? Toxins. What's the matter? Look, if I take something like a cigarette or a coffee, I'm not going to feel bad. But if I'm consuming the coffee and cigarettes from the last 6 years, I'm going to feel quite bad. Immediately. The lady is likely to get an anxiety attack. Why? Because she's full of toxins. The brain says, I need a solution now. But since it's full of artificial antioxidants that stop combustion, so the only solution is open the cabinet and eat chocolate. So it can again turn into fat to get out of the blood. Our subconscious is focused on protecting the body. Protect the body and protect the body. It is an effect, not a cause. The effect, hypertension, is a protection mechanism for a greater cause. That is, not having enough oxygen here, for example. Then I have to be clear about what I'm doing with my food. And that in each case is different. For one person is one problem, and for another person is another problem. But we all are electrical beings, and we have to maintain this high power, right? Not lower it. And sugar increases energy, but only if I'm exercising. In conclusion, you can only lose weight if you're oxidizing, and I must increase my body conductivity, right? Increase conductivity. Drink seawater, diluted to 1/3. We have even done tests on 800 cows and the results have been impressive. Conductivity, let's see, that's conductivity. Well, the body is a network, right? Here is a drawing of a network, but it's more complex. But still, the idea is for all parts to communicate with each other. How? We operate, let me try to explain, on scalar energy that has no cables. This energy transmits information and energy at the same time. Imagine an ordinary mobile phone that can recharge itself. It does not require battery charge because the information is the same as the energy, okay? So being as a vortex, it can transmit both. Professor Dr. Mayl in Germany has been able to transmit 400 watts, enough energy to light a lamp at a distance. He has a toy plane with only a motor and an antenna, nothing more. Do you know what that means for the future? Who needs batteries? For cars, anything. This energy is perfect, it's great. Hopefully industry will bring this to the market and not hide it, as usual. Because scalar energy is the most efficient energy one can imagine. I filmed this for the documentary showing a boat with just an electric motor that is Pins, no battery, no apparent connection. Our body does the same. We can send all kind of energy. But I know the books are saying something different. Our science tells us that we generate energy with ATP. But in reality, we do this, use the energy from all the cells, because the cells are also batteries. Each cell is like a mini battery, to be precise, up to 100 millivolts per cell. Imagine how many cells are in our body? 50 trillions? I don't want to say anything wrong, but we have many batteries here, right? And if we connect these batteries in series, we have fantastic power, right? Very good. And if I'm playing the piano for 2 hours and then I climb a mountain, modern medicine would say, well, I'm creating ATP in this part of my hand. Is it possible constantly be lifting these kilos up? Has anyone done the math? No, it's not possible. The electric energy comes from somewhere else. It comes from all over the body, because the power can go where I need it, and that explains why, for example, Reiki works. It is the same energy. I can transmit energy to another person. That explains why, when you're with your girlfriend, looking into her eyes, she feels what you feel, because there's energy, the transfer of energy. Is love, which equals resonance, right? But at the same time, she might telepathically transmit. Please don't forget to put this back in the fridge, for example. We all create many coincidences. For example, we try to call someone just as they call us, right? It happens to any of you. It's the same energy. This scalar energy is not affected by distance. It does not matter from here to Timbuktu or wherever, same thing. It just requires two things: to be in resonance, and it works. Our body works like this. It's absolutely fantastic. So this energy is what propels us, and may explain why Reiki or telepathy works. It runs the things we can not explain yet. It's not esoteric BS or hocus pocus, no. This finally explains it scientifically, and that's a big step. What is the electrochemistry of the body? What I'm saying, you're seeing here the mitochondria. Okay. This is what we have in each cell. It is the electric generator. Each cell runs the oxidation process using salt, let's say sodium as well. The sodium-potassium pump is the name given to the body electricity system. Imagine your body as a pool. What's the problem? If the pH is low, does anyone has a pool here? Okay, very good. What happens if the pH in the pool is low? It's a problem, right? You have to put in more chlorine, more than usual. If you don't, the pool turns green. If you have a perfect pH, you might say, oh, did I put in the chlorine? I do not remember. Well, the water's fine. If the pH is not correct, the balance change. I have green algae, bacteria, or whatever. And we, please, scientists in the audience, forgive me, what I will simplify for the people that ask, how does this work? Well, imagine we are drinking chlorine, or more specifically chlorine dioxide, not pool chlorine. Well, it can be if it's MMS too. What it does is remove electrons, because it removes dirt, like in the pool with water, and is expelled through urine or feces. If all the water in the body would be purified, what will happen? In principle, you would be healthy. By drinking some seawater, we increase our conductivity, and then energy flows more efficiently. So the cables work faster. People are afraid of salt. Many say salt is very bad. Not so. The official explanation: if you take more salt, it has more density, and therefore it's worse for our body. Well, let's see a moment. More density? How much denser seawater compared to fresh water? Not so much, right? No, what if you dilute seawater 1 to 1/3? Even less dense. So this is what we are talking about. Something is not right. So this is wrong. There are exceptions for some types of cells. Cancer is an exception. In that case, it's different. If you take blood, for example, it's very interesting if you look through a dark field microscope. And in the future, I'll do seminars on this for professionals, therapists, and the like. It's a real effect. So We take blood and put it under a microscope and usually looks like this here. This is called stacked coin effect, which is pre-thrombocytic. Because you have a blood clot that may cause to have heart problems or whatever, still hidden away, the electricity in my body is down. Blood cells do no longer repel each other, like magnets, and stuck together. The more they stick together, the more clusters are produced that are bad for our health. By taking MMS in, I think, in less than 30 minutes, the measurement between the two actually increased the electricity of the cell membrane, and they separate immediately and recover the fluidity. Evidence. For example, people say that there are no scientific evidence that it can cure anything. Okay, we have Dr. Norio Ogata in Japan, where 70% of untreated lab mice died, while 100% of the treated mice survived. The 70 untreated died of bird flu. That's the real bad flu, not the swine flu, where they are trying to sell us on truncated vaccines. Bacteria. Let's see, chlorine dioxide removes electrons from the shell. So here for the scientists, how ClO2 kills bacteria. So, what's the difference between antibiotic and chlorine dioxide? Well, both work the same. For example, when you have an illness, such as urinary tract infection, which is a classic. A woman that has a urinary infection or a man, that's really painful. Take MMS and it cures it. I mean, right away. I'm not talking about 1 hour, perhaps 6 to 7 hours. Even in very bad cases. So what has it done? And it works like an antibiotic. But unlike an antibiotic, which works by entering the cell and poisons the cell, that way, in other words, antibiotics kill the cell from within. However, chlorine dioxide does not kill the inside, but rather breaks the cell wall. No cell can be resistant to that. It's impossible, because it's like saying you're resistant to a grenade. It's not going to happen. It's an explosion that causes the bacteria, in this case, the cell wall, to break apart. They just break. In addition, we have here some studies that say it also oxidizes viruses through the virus capsids. You have to imagine a virus as explained simply. Well, you know those stickers you find in the field that are similar to Velcro? Well, these are supposedly similar how to a virus hooks to host cells. These hooks are called capsids and are specific for each cell. Chlorine dioxide is responsible that the virus cannot engage more. What does it mean? Suppose I start to develop a cold, I better run and take MMS, because the virus will multiply faster than my own cells can correct it. If the viral load is already high, the multiplication of the virus is faster than my defense cells. So how does this multiplication go? Well, 1, 2, 4, 8, 64, 4096, 60,700,000. I'm already lost. It multiplies very fast to infinity, and that's a problem. Therefore, we have to act quickly. What we saw, that leukocytes, white blood cells, usually eat faster, and this is what makes us not get sick. Dr. Klaus Schuster, a doctor and researcher from Switzerland, has been very successful treating malaria and HIV with chlorine dioxide and homeopathic remedies. Of 10 cases, for example, 7 cases were fine. If they are healthy, what does it mean? They still had antibodies. Well, interestingly, for unknown reason, one was negative, but the others were still seropositive. And funny thing, that's in all cases, malaria was gone. But all patients were still seropositive. Three who died, two died the first week of treatment. The third died from unrelated causes because they are in Africa. The problem is not only the disease, but also what the people eat. This is harder still. It is very frustrating. It is very frustrating for many doctors who go down there. I am healing this man today, and tomorrow they bring him back because he's dying of starvation. It's very sad sometimes. But then, here are these studies, which are extremely positive. Parasites, MMS, I do not have to say anything. It works perfectly for malaria. Fungus, a disease that is very, very neglected, or perhaps we can say deleted. Every time we take antibiotics, we get fungus. Every time. For example, a classic problem for many women who takes antibiotics and then have a vaginal infection. Why? Because in the vagina normally maintains a balance of bacteria and fungus. Now, if I remove the bacteria completely from the body, there's a fungi overgrowth. Logically, we then have no balance. Fungi are also able to create toxins. I would call them evil manipulators. We know that some mushrooms are hallucinogenic, even small mushrooms. Candida has this capability and can cause sugar cravings, more extreme anxiety, depression attacks. The depressions can be very extreme. This is a very important fact. Keep in mind that many psychological diseases are actually caused by fungus. Most people don't know this and then take psychological drugs and then get addicted to them for life. A client buying them forever. Leg ulcers, for example. Here's a diabetic case. You can read it directly. This email came to me yesterday. I'm including pictures of my father, a recovery of the left foot with a fungal infection caused by diabetes. This here is a diabetic leg. People with a diabetic leg are rotting alive. He died at 75 years of age, but thanks to MMS, he was able to walk and keep his leg and foot, and the necrosis reversed even after minor amputations. They already had the toe amputated, and the doctors wanted to amputate all the way up to the knee. If I look at the first picture, I understand it. You can see it very well, but the improvement is rather considerable. And we are now working on a book of testimonials with evidence. It is all really very interesting. Tumors, as started earlier, occur when the mitochondrials are turned off. That is, if we have no electricity, the cell which runs normally on oxidation switches to fermentation, also known as glycosis. Tumors always have an acid pH. Such is the case with people who have cancer. The first thing these people should do is stop eating sugar. Does anyone know what a PET is? I mean a PET scan. Very good. What is it? The radiologist gives a patient a mixture of radioactive sugar. You swallow it, and then the scanner shows you have cancer here, here, and there. Very good. Do oncologists ever say to their cancer patients they should avoid sugar? It's a PET scan, right? It uses sugar to detect the tumor. They know that sugar is direct nutrition for tumors. Because if it wasn't so, PET scans would not exist. Well, then regarding oxidation, we thought cancer could be killed by oxidation. Well, I'm not sure now. I might be repeating a mistake of mine from a previous conference. As I said before, I like to tell the truth and correct myself if I need to. So that's what I thought at first. We know now that cancer does not die by oxidation, but rather makes apoptosis. What's that? When the mitochondria switch back due to the chlorine dioxide, what happens? They cannot change course. Most cells cannot go from oxidative to not oxidative or anaerobic, but they cannot easily return to the oxidative state. Because when they try to change metabolism after the rampant manipulation, the cell has electricity again and realizes, oh, there has been a failure in matrix, and then commits suicide. Chlorine dioxide provokes apoptosis in cancer because of the increased mitochondrial activity caused by a change in the polarity of membrane. In other words, to make this scientifically clear, sorry, I must say this well, the real reason, not the way I was saying it in my first lecture some years ago. So with cancer, the important thing is to revive the mitochondria, and then they are responsible in making cell apoptosis. What does apoptosis mean? It's not a normal suicide. One kind of suicide is where a cell bursts, but with apoptosis, the cell shrinks to nothing. It is not the same that a cell bursts or that it shrinks to nothing. We all used cell apoptosis when our eyes were created. Without the lens in our eye, we would not see. This is also a mechanism of apoptosis, voluntary cell suicide. So we are able to see. Antibiotics obviously creates resistance, which becomes more and more, because it's a poison, a poison, a poison, and a poison. It is a very serious thing when you are eating, because we eat the flesh of animals that have been stuffed with antibiotics, the same ones they prescribe to humans, and then we have cases like in Germany, where people are dying and nobody knows why, of some kind of ultra-resistant bacteria, a bacteria we have probably always had and now turned into a superbug. We have an increasing number of absurd diseases. These are survivors from treatments of bacteria or parasites from the food chain that have been forced upon us. I have found some suspicious about strange parasites in autistic children. In fact, all our treated children expelled what seemed like ascaris worms, some of them more than 80 centimeters in length. We know that it can't be, or it is a subspecies of some kind of new worm we do not know about. We are investigating these worms, but it's not so easy. I've been criticized a lot, and some have turned me in because of the supposed toxicity of MMS. For all those who have not taken it, but saying MMS is toxic and that it may cause kidney failure or renal failure, I think I have 18 testimonials by people who have been cured using ClO2 where they wanted to remove their kidney. How can that be? That is supposed to cause kidney failure. Methemoglobinemia, which means the blood cannot longer carry oxygen. Let's see, that's absurd. If I also dose a lab mouse with ClO2, it dies from methemoglobinemia, but due to the extreme overdosing. So here, I have it, for all you want to read it. No hormones changed, and that the incidence of lymphoma and leukemia in the group that have drunk water, because this is a study about water, making it potable through the use of chlorine dioxide. The group that drank water with lots of chlorine dioxide only had 2% of cancer, in contrast to the control group that had 15 of the time. And this test has many participants, thousands of people. There was no increase in blood parameters, nor even at the highest doses. Many people ask me how they should take MMS. Well, take it however long you need. There's no long-term effect known, because the effect lasts about an hour. The ion react and that's it. Once they react, they're used up, kind of like a match. When you used it, it turns into pure energy, nothing else. I mean, it has no known long-term effect. The only effect it might have on long-term is the citric acid, because there are some people who are very sensitive to citric acid, and some say, I cannot take more than 2 drops. Very well. This can be one of 2 things, actually. Either you have an allergy to citric acid, which case you should use a different acidic activator. For example, a 5% solution of hydrochloric acid works well. It's the same acid we have in our stomach. Some people say, oh, hydrochloric acid. No, 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 no. We have it in the stomach, end of story. Activates ClO2 perfectly. In fact, is used in water purification systems. Okay? Every year. This is another option for those who have difficulty taking MMS, but even then some say, hey, my body just can't handle it. I recommend that anyone who can't even handle 2 drops, which most hamsters even can handle, that they check if they have worms. Because if they have worms, such as Ascaris, what happens if that 2 drops won't kill them, but they don't like MMS? So what happens if you have worms in the gut and take a few drops? Well, what the worms do is, pardon my words, they shit in my gut. And this worm shit produces many things. First, a huge stomach upset. And second, MDA is released. Does anyone know what MDA is? Amphetamines. If anyone here is very anxious, they should check whether it might be the cause, because these creatures do this. Many children are hyperactive. Well, mothers, you grandmothers knew. Time to watch if the children have worms. But here, in our countries, parasites no longer exist. You go to a Western doctor and they say they've never seen one. Look, the man before who was, I think I have a picture of him, holding a worm like this. Do you know what they said to him about the results in the lab test? Negative. Wow. Then we have other tests too, looking at feces. I have a microscope for research and I've looked into the microscope and I saw larvae. Very good. Took it to the lab and they say negative. Negative? But there's this evidence. I don't know what is happening here, neither how nor the why. The only thing I know that is what I've sent specimens to several laboratories along with photos, and the diagnosis always comes back negative. I have no explanation. But I have an explanation of what those Ascaris worms do. They cause numerous diseases with various symptoms in varying locations. You can have them in the pancreas and in the liver. They travel throughout the body and reside in many places. Okay, we're investigating this, and it is one of the things that surprised us, because we have thousands of testimonials where MMS is usually sufficient. But now I'm talking about cases where it is not enough. Please check into it, okay? There are remedies, but this needs more research. But this is an ongoing research, and so it's too early to me to say anything. It is too early to be certain about our findings, but if you find something in a stool that looks like mucus in a stool, do not hesitate to have it tested, but it's likely to come out negative, okay? Ask your grandmothers. Many of the remedies work. They have thousands of different ways. Well, I had a Romanian man who worked for me, and he told me that he had worms from working in the fields in Romania. Well, what did you do to get rid of the worms? He said. Well, it was very bad. I asked him, what did you take? He said, I took a gulp of diesel from the tractor. He's alive and well. Well, that means it works. I do not recommend this here, but anyway. There are many things out there. What we do need is study this more closely and see what we can learn from it. I do not want to blame doctors here because they are not the guilty. And I want to make it very, very clear. I know doctors who are real heroes. Carmen, for example, who is good really to Madagascar with lepers, she said, Andreas, I'm doing everything, and I take MMS here and there together with the NGO. We have done wonders for the people. Thousands of people with malaria and leprosy were treated with MMS and aloe vera. And the main active ingredient of aloe vera is DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide, which naturally occurs in aloe vera. And it's all described in the book by Jim Humble. You will find lots of DMSO information in that book. In this book is more detailed information about DMSO and various remedies. What it says in the old book about 15 drops. Please forget about that. Nobody should take 15 drops unless they have malaria. If this product is supposedly banned, I have to wonder why there are so many products with chlorine dioxide that are used as a key ingredient. And it's approved by the FDA. And these products work very well. It is used on cattle, ABS. Used to treat mastitis.
By the way, breastfeeding mothers
Use chlorine dioxide. It's fantastic against infection, meaning inflammation. It works like nothing else. Imagine an untreated cow and we then drink that milk. Careful. Some people are allergic to milk. Most likely they're allergic to the Monsanto hormones. A cow normally produces 70 liters a day, but with hormone injection it goes up to 33 a day. Since we're talking about cows, we had a very good experience with them. Before, many people criticized me, saying, Andreas, this is a hoax. Andreas, this is bad, and what you say is a lie. These are all placebos. All the people who are taking MMS are healed by the Holy Spirit, or because they prayed, or some other reason, but not MMS. Okay, well, I said might be, but 800 cows cannot be wrong. Cows don't understand the difference between a placebo and medicine, no way. So on this farm we could lower the monthly cost and much more. Before, the cost was 28,000 euros per year. They came to me and said, Andreas, we cannot do anything because we are paying for food and medicine. Imagine, 28,000 euros, mostly for drugs. Remember, veterinary medical products are much cheaper, but they're often the same product. What a coincidence. So if you don't have money, you know where to buy it. Well, their monthly cost went down. I recently spoke to them and their cost is now on a downtrend. It is now below 200 euros a month. What? Yes. And what are we doing? Well, we are using mostly MMS and as well as seawater. The animals are recovering normally. What is happening? It's a fattening farm. Fattening farms have small calves. You know, they tear them away from the mother after 4 or 5 days, and that's a trauma, a big one. Obviously, it is a trauma to be taken away from one's mother, and many get sick and die easily. The death rate is normally very high. So normally they get vaccinations, antibiotics, and of course the farmer gets a bill for 28,000 euros. Here we are able to turn this around, and if more farmers are interested, I will gladly educate them. The death rate has now been reduced. This is already impressive, even after only half a year. There are already fewer deaths. We developed something new called CDS, which is in my video. It is out there on YouTube, called New CDS Chlorine Dioxide Solution. This is chlorine dioxide solution which is made from MMS. Very easy. A tube goes from a bottle with MMS to a bottle of water. No secrets. It's all explained on the public video for those who want to know. Because it can easily be used by those who can't handle citric acid, even if they don't have worms, which might be the case. So this would be then the next step for them. In Wikipedia there are several articles filled with BS, but frankly, I don't care. The dangerous 28% solution. When you make the drops it's 28%, but once diluted in water it's 0.016. The critics should not falsify data simply because they don't agree. As a result, we are working on a book with a lot of statistical information, including information of those who are against MMS. Interestingly, 80% of those who say negative things about MMS are people who have never tried it. Then everybody can reach his own conclusions. I want the truth out in the open. Everyone has to decide for themselves. I do not want to convince anyone of anything. It doesn't work anyway. For example, we have relatives who we encourage to it, and we say, MMS cures what you have. But they say, no, 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 no. Okay. It's up to you until the next life. I feel bad because they're my friends, but everybody has to learn. From life, whatever it is, you have to learn. God has given you the opportunity to heal yourself. If you don't want to, well, it's your business. If you have a great fear of getting well, you will die someday anyway, so what's the difference? Consider this. Cancer is a business. Cancer is a business. What I'm about to say, it's not from me, but it's from a Nobel Prize winner for medicine right now. The pharmaceutical industry has only one purpose. And the focus of the pharmaceutical industry is to maintain chronic illnesses. Go to university and look at the med students. What do we see? Some of these top students are proudly wearing gowns with names on them, such as Bayer, Pfizer, and if you ask them about their gown, they say, well, I'm in the Pfizer research group. Congratulations, Pfizer makes products, well, that people will become dependent on. For years they haven't done research on any product that does not create dependency. We are talking about business. I'm not even talking bad about these guys. They do their job, period. Their job is to make money for shareholders. The patients, well, fuck them. That's it. But one day one of the men of Pfizer will be sick too. Don't forget that. Hear another truth. The pharmaceutical industry has been kidnapped for 100 years. That's something I'll be showing in a documentary as well. The Rockefeller family began over 100 years ago, and old Bill Rockefeller had a product. This product cured cancer, among other things. Do you know what it was? Does anybody know here? Some might know. Kerosene. It was called Nujol. You can search for it. Nujol, and it still exists. Interestingly, there's a Nobel Prize nominee, Professor Dr. Seeger from the Charité Berlin, who researched cancer for 50 years and was able to heal many with oil. Perhaps the Romanian diesel drinker was not so wrong. There are many things we do not know about the Rockefeller family. From the beginning, they knew very well the importance and benefit it can provide. The Rockefellers sold that oil for $25. That was twice the salary of a person, considering that it was only a derivative of the oil they were taking out of their wells. Then they created the Rockefeller Foundation, and this foundation did most of the funding of what? Do you know? Nearly all the big universities of the world. Millions and millions and millions of dollars. In fact, Harvard receives more than $10 million each year, and the billions of funding goes to university. The foundation, of course, puts people they like into leadership positions at the universities, and thereby create the industry of the pill. Anyone who is not conform is labeled a quack. Well, a quack is someone who is a kind of bad healer. Gradually, they've been pushing all of this unwanted knowledge out of the universities. All the knowledge that does not serve Big Pharma is thrown out. All what matters is to sell, 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 and sell. If we are realistic for a moment, we must realize that they are right about one thing. Our population is out of control, and because of this, they want to remove people from the planet. I think they should start with their children, not with ours. And it's time to say enough. Enough and enough. I even realize that they are trying to remove people with wars, cancer and other means. I understand, but this can also be done differently, and I do not agree with their methods, especially when you have someone you love. And you have to say, no way. What's happening is that we are slowly being killed, like in the story of the frog. Do you know what that one? What happens if you take a frog and put it into boiling water? He jumps out very quickly. Now, if you put that frog in normal water and slowly start heating it, what happens? It starts to boil, but the frog doesn't jump. And here in Spain, in Europe, and even in America, the people have become sheeple, unable to do anything. I've lived in Spain for 30 years and I was once proud of the Spanish, being a German. You know what it was? Do you remember the pottery strike? Everyone there went bang, bang, bang. They did not want to be in the Iraq war. I was saying, ole, but this is what they deserve. There's a moment where you have to wake up, gentlemen. Waking up does not mean start a war, no, but do go and tell your neighbor the truth. Tell them to get the books, learn that there are other ways to heal. Even the doctors. More and more doctors are coming to me for information. I welcome all of those who want to learn. But some want to turn me in, okay. I'm affecting their business, so I understand. I'm taking away business. But there's something more important than these doctors who think I'm taking away their business. One day they will need a pill for a disease which is not one of their pills. And they will need this knowledge that they are now trying to restrict. To find the truth, we always must follow the money. If you know who benefits, you know the truth. Don't tell us fairy tales, tales of whatever. These here are facts. The Rockefellers and Rothschilds in this case work together and have taken over the entire university system, and what's taught there, and that's what you get. The doctors in the universities have no idea. And they've done more than one thing. They have done one more thing. They have compartmentalized the body to such a degree that no doctor knows what the others do. Because if I go to an internist and ask him to check with ultrasound near the prostata where it hurts, he will tell you, no, I have to go to the urologist. But if you have the machine already here, why do you care? No, let's see, this is a matter of pure logic. We need doctors who have a broad perspective, and I admire those who go to third world countries, because I have to say, ole. That is the real doctor's quest. Not what you learn in the universities. Do you understand? The profitability of the pharmafia. The pharmafia is the world's most profitable business. They are above the banks. I am not talking about the poor pharmaceutical shop. They are now upset because they want to take away the pharmacies. They want to put them into the supermarket in a large chain they already control. This is what they want to do. The future will be this. Do you want to know the future? Pharmacies are going to close and relocate in the corner of a supermarket. Part of the big chains, the very large ones. Okay? That's the point. Point one. Point two, public health care, if you know it, will disappear. Why? It's more lucrative for the private business. Privatization, privare in Latin, means deprived or depriving someone of something. I think this is what will happen, and no one is doing here a pottery strike. Do you know who's doing a pottery strike? My little 3-year-old girl who yells, "They've closed Mega Upload and I can't watch Dora the Explorer." I don't like the FBA. Okay. But see, we have to do something. We all have to really move forward a little. I know that everyone has been frustrated when they attempt to be idealistic, especially when they have been kicked in the ass. I know. So what? We will all die, everyone here. But the moment you're going to die, ask yourself one thing: why the heck I have been here? Thank you, sorry. Here are some numbers. To give you an idea how far the rabbit hole goes. Those are old numbers from 2004, but in 2004 Pfizer already made 48 billion. That's significant. Imagine, that's 8 times the Spanish GDP. And with that kind of money you can buy any government. Any government. Because the margin is so brutal. For example, a drug like a Prozac, which is used to treat anxiety, and the anxiety produced is in reality a fungus. I have, and they don't recognize it because it does not exist officially. It costs 16 cents to produce and sell it in America for $260. That's what I call margin. And when you watch the documentary where the researchers out flying around the Amazon in helicopter looking for new plants to make medicines that will cure something, no one asked what for. What they do is to go and rob the Amazonian sources' knowledge of plants so they can patent it. Patenting. And this is the reason I was a fan of Mega Upload. Nobody has the right to patent essentials. I've had the opportunity to patent many things, from water-assisted motor or CDS and many other things. Could have made me rich.
No way.
Because on my final day I want to be able to clearly say what I accomplished in my life. I encourage everyone to do things, many things. There are young people who are very skilled. For example, well, Bitcoin, it's a new currency on the internet. Look at it, it's very interesting. It cannot be prohibited or eliminated. Other realities, well, it's always money, money, money. That's all they do. And, most important, they're the ones who are able to print money. I've worked in finance, I know it. The American Fed. The American Federal Bank is a private bank. I have a private bank and I just print and produce more millions. 26 trillions a few months ago for distribution among banks. Simply pressing key, ticky, 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 26 trillions. This is a few millions for each inhabitant of that country.
Actually, of the world. Anyone of the world would be millionaire.
This is unacceptable. Let's turn to positive situation. We have a few weapons here really to do something. With all these bad food and other things, what can we do? Look, MMS is not expensive, it costs about 30 euros a pack on the internet. It cures people with malaria and much more. For those who tried it, I don't have to even tell you. There are 2 drops for those who don't know. Let me explain now. This is one brand, there are many more. There are 2 components. You take sodium chloride and mix it with citric acid, or 5% of HCl, whichever you prefer.
And what he has to do then is the following. Mix the 2.
You wait 1 minute, add water and drink it. That's it. No more secrets. Rather easy, right? But there are people who did everything wrong. They read and used old protocols with a new product. They used 5 when they should have used 3. And they all made all kinds of stupid mistakes. And I've seen a lot of that. Please do not use old information on the internet. Get the new book by Jim Humble. It's worth it. Above all, it's all updated, because people get confused and then take it wrong. Please do not call me before you read the book. I do what I can to help people, but I cannot be glued to the phone while trying to do research. People ask, my hemorrhoids are troubling me again, how many drops should I take? It's okay, I don't mind. You might laugh, I don't mind, because this is a person who's really suffering, but I have to say, with all respect in the world, please read the book first. Then you know what the book says. You have to use an MMS NMR, and that helps, right? And then there are those cases that are challenging. For example, someone with eye cancer. The doctors just want to remove the eye. He is here in the audience. We are just trying to help. Help people, those who want to learn, but don't have the money for the book. Not everybody can afford it, but most can read. At least someone can read at pages like medicasalud.com in Spanish or jimhumble.com. Well, testimonials. Here I normally have testimonials, but it's not loading right now, so I cannot show it. Man, well, I will tell you about him. This man who had bladder cancer was given 8 days to live. He was healed. And then the doctors could not explain the spontaneous remission. Also, I have to correct something it says at Jim Humble's book. Everyone's healed. Well, Jim, I'm good friend with him, but that's not true.
It does not cure everyone.
Why? One thing is essential. If our subconsciousness says that it wants to die or we want to die, we will die. But when the family says, Uncle Peter, we want you to live, but when a person has decided to die, there is nothing, no drug that can do anything, nothing. And that is sometimes very sad. The reasons are many, in cancer or other terminal illnesses. There are usually multiple causes, and they are difficult to understand. And so, many who suffer from terminal illnesses also have to deal with family members, often making their life difficult or impossible. The last month or years of life may be a suffering terror when it could be better by enjoying a grandchild or doing something else nice. I want to say here right now, thank you very much to all who have given me lots of information. I ask that everyone who has a testimonial to send it. Please send it to me at voedia@gmail.com. And I want to thank everyone very much in principle. My talk's done, and I can now take your questions, okay? Thank you very much.